Good afternoon. I'm very happy to present here on a technology called the Internet of Things. Let me first thank the organizers for inviting me to this prestigious event. It's really an honor for me to present SAP's view on Industry 4.0 and in particular on this important technology for Industry 4.0, which we call the Internet of Things. So I will spend the next 20 minutes on giving you some insights on this underlying technology. And as every presentation on the Internet of Things, also mine starts with some impressive numbers. So on what we expect for the very near future. We see that by 2020, depending on which survey we look into, we expect 12 to 50 billion devices to be connected to the Internet. And of course, I think the pure absolute number is not that important if it's 12 or if it's 50 billion, but it's important that this number is growing very rapidly. So then I started giving presentations on this topic. We more talked about 5 billion, 8 billion. So we sometimes said, okay, it will be more devices than we have people on the planet. We often made also the comparisons to the number of toothbrushes on this planet, and we said, oh, we will soon reach the number of toothbrushes with connected devices. And in the meantime, I think last year, a big company producing electric toothbrushes announced a toothbrush that can be connected to your computer, to the Internet, so that you can control if you really make you're cleaning your teeth in the correct way. So we see every trend that we foresee is even outperformed a few years later. So it's important the numbers are growing, but don't buy too much into the absolute numbers. And of course, with the growing numbers of devices, we will also see a growing market. You see here some numbers from Gartner Research. They expect the market for this Internet of Things technologies to grow by 40 to 50% year by year. And so this, of course, includes not only the software for which my company stands, but this also includes the hardware, the embedded modules that you use to make the connections to the Internet, and also the connectivity. So this is also an important market for the telecommunication providers. And they work intensively, of course, also on this topic, as they expect the data volumes being transmitted to grow also rapidly. We talk about this topic, I think, for some years now, but what most recently changed is that the prices for the hardware and also for the connectivity cost fall significantly. And so I think now it's really the time that this topic goes into a real project, that really customers have investing in the topic, because the prices are much lower, so many business cases become now valid, very valid business cases, very attractive. Which is one of the reasons that in the last couple of months and maybe last year, this topic really took up so much attention. And the second reason for that is that the technology has become much more mature over time. So then we started at SAP looking into these topics. That was already 5 or 10 years back. So we started with RFID technology. That allows you to track your pallets when they travel through a supply chain, for example. But back then, the technology was quite unreliable, so we only had read rates about 80% accuracy, and it was often more reliable or cheaper to have a human being standing next to a pallet and doing probes and counting manually than just having this technology. This significantly changed in the last couple of years, so we now have very reliable technology. In RFID, we reach read rates about 99.8%. Also the connectivity, mobile connectivity is omnipresent. We have connectivity everywhere, reliable connectivity, high bandwidth connectivity. So this is also a reason why now there's really a big hype, and it's not only a hype, it's already really happening, and the implementation really starts now. This is also maybe important for companies who still look into Industry 4.0 or Internet of Things and say, oh, this is something that maybe we have to invest. I already said it yesterday in the discussion session that this is already happening now. We already saw customers investing significantly in 2013. And so I think if the customers do not jump on this train, now, then they might already be too late for this important trend. But what is the Internet of Things? So there are hundreds of definitions out there. What they all have in common is that the technology used to connect the things is relying on the standard Internet protocol. And this is a big advantage. So we don't use any proprietary protocols anymore for the communication, but we rely on the public Internet and use it for connecting these devices and making them transparent for our applications. What I like about this definition that I chose here is, again, from McKinsey and Partners, is that they speak of the fact that with this technology, the real world becomes accessible like an information system today, like a database. So we can send out queries, how many people are in this room, how much traffic is on this and that road, and we get answers in real time back from these connected things. So we do not work anymore on estimations or on predictive facts, but we really rely on what is happening in the real world and get direct information from the real world. And I said already, we work on these technologies for years. Industry 3.0 has been introduced in the 1970s, so we use IT in manufacturing for quite some time. But what changed is what you see on this slide here. I think we used to be on the left-hand side of this slide, what we call machine-to-machine communication, where we connect a certain type of device or category of device to a certain application. So for example, a container to a container tracking application, or a car, a truck, to a fleet management application. And by doing so, often with proprietary protocol, this worked very well for this individual application. But we built more or less application silos, what you see on the left-hand side here. And this becomes difficult if you want to access information from the different domains. So if you, for example, want to know if your truck is in time with the container for the shipment of the container, then you have to make an application-to-application integration between the fleet management and the container tracking solution, for example. And this is expensive. This is often manual effort. You then deal with different applications, different standards, different technologies. And this is, of course, very challenging and expensive for the customer. With the Internet of Things, we now do this all in one common technology, and this brings us really to the right-hand side of this slide, so that all the devices that we need, that we want to connect to the Internet, that we want to receive information or to collect data from, are connected to one, what we call a device cloud. And we send this data into this one centralized device cloud, hosted in a data center. And from there, the data can be accessed from all the applications on top. So by that, we get somehow a data integration for free. Of course, we still have to discuss about global standards for the data formats and all that. But let's assume we can solve this. We really have a huge advantage here that all the applications can access all the information from the various devices sending out data. And the second advantage is, of course, that we can build a horizontal technology platform for such devices that implements the functionality that is used in all these applications only once. So we only have to implement a device management, for example, for all these devices only once within a platform, and it can be used by any application. So we can very more rapidly and quickly develop such applications, and we can develop them cheaper for our customers because we use more and more standard technology for that. So what do we get from this transformation towards the Internet of Things? As I mentioned already, the key driver is that we get real-time transparency. And we always say, even in the existing business processes, we have a lot of advantages by having such a transparency. For example, if you know where your containers are at any point in time, you can save on capacities of the containers. You don't need so much containers anymore. We really did this in a pilot with a customer, and he could reduce the overcapacity of his containers by 10 to 50%. So he has a direct cost advantage by introducing this technology already with his existing business processes. This is why I also say the technology is already there. Start now, implement first projects with it. Don't think always about the very next steps, which are new business models, completely new business models. First introduce the technology with existing business processes, and then think what you can do next and come to new business models. This is then also what we see at customers. They then start thinking about, for example, not selling their products anymore if you are a machine and equipment manufacturer, for example, but that you only lease them and you charge them for using the machine and not only for the product anymore. So these are completely new business models that you can then leverage because you have this transparency how your customers use your assets and so on. A second advantage is that the whole business world will come to be a connected business. So we will have full transparency through a global supply chain, for example, across the globe. So companies will work much more closely together. They will have access to other companies' data so that they know if a delivery will be in time, for example. So everything will be much more networked. And a third trend that is in particular, again, relevant for Industry 4.0 is that we have a closer, what we call vertical integration, so that the automation layer, the machines, will talk more directly to the applications and to the analytical tools on top. So we will not have 3-4 separate software layers until we get some data into an application, but the application will more or less be able to directly receive sensor data and build decisions on top of that, enterprise decisions, business decisions, without too many software layers involved anymore. So we will see a convergence between the operation technology and IT. How does this relate to Industry 4.0? During this event we heard a lot about the different stages, the first 3 revolutions and the 4th now undergoing. Again, I would like to stress the point that it's important for our customers that we take them on a journey which is more an evolution and not a disruptive revolution, so that they're safe with their investments. I already pointed this out in the discussion yesterday. It's important that we retrofit existing equipment, but with that then they will see a paradigm shift in how they do business, in how they enter this connected or networked economy. The relationship now to the Internet of Things is, because sometimes people mix up Internet of Things and Industry 4.0 or use it in the same way. I think it's 2 different terms. Industry 4.0 is a very important application domain for Internet of Things. And the other way around, you need a lot of other technologies to leverage Industry 4.0. So of course they are closely related, but they are 2 separate things. Internet 4.0 is an application domain for this important technology, the Internet of Things. And here you see very briefly the layers that I talked about already a bit, so and where companies like SAP are now playing. I think you all are aware that enterprise software companies like SAP, of course, their core competence is the applications and analytics, which you see there on the very top. But of course, we are going down this technology stack and also now doing device management, make sure that applications can use this technology. All that what you need in order to do that will be provided also by the software companies. Of course, we will not go into the telecommunication business, so taking care of the pure connectivity. There we rely on partners, and the same, of course, for hardware. We will not build embedded hardware or any hardware at all. There we rely on partners. It's also interesting to see that, of course, the other thing also happens, that the telecommunication providers, for example, crawl up the stack. And it's, I think, still an exciting game who will survive in this middleware layer. I guess, or we guess, there will only be 5-6 big platforms that will globally survive at the end and enabling applications for the Internet of Things. I mentioned that also other technologies are very important to enable Industry 4.0. And here you see some examples. So I think you also need very good big data technology because you collect a lot of data from these devices, and you want to make meaningful information out of this data. So in the second step, you not only need the technology to store the big data, but you also need tools and applications to analyze the data. I already mentioned that cloud will play a major role in this software sector because it's a very natural way to first collect this data in a cloud infrastructure rather than doing a point-to-point between a device and an application endpoint. So cloud technology will also be a key driver for this business. And finally, we see also that a lot of applications are consumed on mobile devices. So our typical customers more and more do not sit anymore in front of a PC on their desktop, but they are mobile workers, they are business travelers, or they are service technicians who are out at the machine and want to access the information when they are on the road. So mobile technology will also become more and more important. And last but not least, of course, the whole integration with the business processes, with the enterprise systems in the backend will also be a key technology in order to survive in that market. Here are a few examples of applications that we see beyond industry as application domains. I mentioned already some container examples, so network logistics, transparency in the supply chain will be a key driver. Then the network assets that really goes into Industry 4.0, so that we are in real time aware of what is going on with a certain machine. Network buildings. Yesterday we had a very interesting presentation about smart cities. So managing buildings, the energy consumption in buildings, this is also a key application domain for Internet of Things technology, so that you are aware of what is going on in professional buildings, but also at your home, where is energy maybe wasted. So with that technology, you can get full transparency on that. And finally, I also mentioned already truck scenarios, fleet management scenarios. So network vehicles are, of course, also a key driver for this technology. The good thing is, from a software perspective, that these applications all follow a similar pattern and have similar characteristics and requirements. This is why we believe that such a technology platform makes a lot of sense in that area. You see here, for example, on scalability, we have to scale up to hundreds of thousands of devices connected to one application. We see very largely distributed scenarios, so there we have to connect thousands of devices, each of them in a different location, spread it around the whole globe. And we see a lot of challenges with the connectivity. So many applications are fine with fixed networks, but we also see some with mobile connectivity, so there's a lot of heterogeneity in the communication paradigms as well. Here's an example which I call Industry 3.5, still because we are still on the journey from 3.0 to 4.0. It's not 4.0. And this is a scenario we are currently implementing with a real customer. The customer is an equipment manufacturer. He produces industrial equipment, and he wants to offer a remote monitoring service for his customers. So we ship software to our customer, the equipment manufacturer, who then installs our software on his industrial assets, which he then sells to the end customer on the right-hand side of the slide. So our software is running on these machines now and sending the data about the machine, how they are operated, how they are used, into an SAP device cloud. And there we also offer this remote service management as software as a service. So there's not any software installed at our customer side, at the manufacturing, at the equipment manufacturer. So he uses this software as a service via a portal. He only accesses it in the cloud, and we have all the data in the cloud for our customer. So also this is not already Industry 4.0. We see quite some challenges when we really go into such real implementation projects. For example, in the business side, it's still to be clarified how the business models finally look like. So For example, we could charge our customer in numbers of devices that he connects, or we could charge according to the data volume that is transferred. So there are many, many options, and we still have to find out which works best for us and our customers. Also, the legal framework is still an open question. So we ship software to our customer, who ships it to his customers. So how is the legal relationship? We discussed already yesterday briefly about data privacy. So I think we need strict regulations how to handle this very sensitive data. And finally, there are also challenges that are already briefly reflected on in the technology domain. So scalability, heterogeneity, the variety of the devices are technical challenges that we have. On the operation side, we also see that the customers want an end-to-end support. They don't want to discuss with the embedded hardware producer if they have a problem with the hardware. They don't want to discuss with the telco provider if there's a connectivity problem, and with us if there's a software problem. No, they want to have one contact point which they can address with all the topics. And this is also, of course, very complex projects then, and you need one contact for the customer to handle this complexity for the customer. Yeah, so I think this brings me close to the end of the presentation. I also have a video clip here on an example application in the new, let's say, the Industry 4.0 warehouse. We see a lot of Internet of Things technology being used. So there's barcode scanning, there's RFID scanning, there's predictive maintenance involved. But there's also another technology involved in that video, augmented reality. So the worker in the warehouse wears a Google Glass. Actually, it's produced not by Google but by Vuzix, but it's such a class for augmented reality. And yeah, let's have a brief look so that you get an idea of where we see the warehouse of the future. Can we start the video clip?
Welcome. The time is 6:47 a.m.
What you see is in the
There are pick requests available.
Begin.
Incoming pick request. For customer 351, 22 items, please confirm.
Confirmed.
Showing me the pick list. Go to aisle 17, show 3.
Show item 1.
The size for item 1 is 30 by 25 by 5 and a weight of 0.5 kilogram. It's non-fragile. Pick 2.
Two okay. One okay.
Pick request confirmed. Pick 3. Three, okay.
Okay, stopped a bit early, but I think you got the idea. And this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
네, 우베쿠바흐 교수께서 사물 인터넷 비즈니스 애플리케이션